afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark,
And I'm Zoe.
and we are the Board Adventurers. We decided to start our own YouTube channel because we love board games and we love finding the new thematic mechanisms in board games, and that's kind of like what we like to do. And we figured we share it with you guys.
Yeah. So this first video that we're going to do now, we're going to be discuss the top 5 games that got us into the hobby. I'm curious, how did you curate your list? How did you pick your five?
Mine is more chronological, so I'm going to go through my 5 as coming from childhood and then leading up until post college when I got pretty hard into the hobby.
Got it. Nice. Yeah, so the way I curated my list, I chose the top 5 games that I like the most, that inched me more and more into where I am now, where I'm just collecting games.
So they're based on like impact.
Impact, yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with my first one. My first one was, I played this since I was a kid, and this kind of almost initiated me into the board game hobby, and that's Monopoly. So Monopoly typically is just a roll and move game. You move your little piece to a different location. You buy that property. Someone lands on it. They owe you rent. And then you keep playing until someone has all the money. Basically, I played this a lot with my sister and my god-sisters growing up. We would play every Friday into the night, and we would never finish a game. It would just be straight. Whoever has the most money when we stop is the winner.
Nice.
Yeah. Sometimes board games just get you like nostalgic for things. Yeah. And whenever I think of Monopoly, I just think of those nights.
Nice. Word confession, I've never played Monopoly.
What?
Ever. Never played Monopoly.
Oh. Well, I think
we
have a copy of Monopoly, so we're gonna have to play that at some point.
I've watched people play Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger on like Thanksgiving, but they were so serious, and I was young at the time that I was like,
sometimes having a hardcore Monopoly players, it's a very luck based game, you can't really take it too seriously.
Yeah, I know. So it just kind of never came to the table for me.
Nice.
So number 5 is Mystery Abbey. Yeah,
it's an old game.
It is an old game, and it has my favorite mechanism.
Okay.
That really got me into the hobby is deduction style games. And Mystery Abbey was kind of one of the first ones I played. But again, I've never played Clue. So Mystery Abbey, when it was explained to me, it was like a Clue-like game. I was like, I don't know what that means. But I like the idea of just kind of going through your suspects, trying to figure out what other people know, how you decide in your movements and where to go, and how you want to gather information. That kind of like really stuck with me. And it's still like a game to this day. If someone pulls it out, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I can see it because when you think of Clue, you think of just the simple suspect, room, and weapon. But Mystery Abbey kind of changed that in the sense of you have 3 different types of suspects in terms of class, and then they're also order. Yeah. So, and then they each have their own 3 other traits that fall into it.
And the theme is kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like Mystery Abbey too. That was one of those that when I played it, I was like, this is like, why would I ever want to play Clue again? And what's weird? I've heard they're actually coming out with a new version of Mystery Abbey this year.
That's a must buy for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Yeah, I feel like I wanted to. My number 4. Again, this is still in childhood. This is a game that I grew up with playing with my dad. That's chess.
Nice.
Chess, it kind of was that starting point of I like abstract games. And chess is that simple. You have 2 black and white, almost like like armies against each other, and then you have the pawns will move forward, knights will move in an L, bishops move diagonally. But I remember I would be in chess club in grade school and in high school and eventually college too. And I just remember still playing chess nowadays using chess.com.
Nice.
Yeah, so I still go on puzzles and I still do chess puzzles. And it's all been just like nostalgic fun. So,
it's a classic.
I still really have a deep appreciation for chess.
Nice, definitely a classic. So for my number 4, again, another deduction style game. It is Hanabi.
Oh, okay.
Almost like a theme with a lot of my games on this list is that they're kind of light games. I do like lighter games as opposed to heavier games, and a lot of these lighter games just got me into the hobby.
Right.
And Hanabi was definitely super simple.
Cooperative.
Play with a bunch of people. And it's just kind of like you can play it anywhere.
Yeah.
Really. You can play it at the bar.
Oh, yeah,
true. Pull it out anywhere. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I just kind of like the communicating without communicating.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like one of the best parts of Hanabi for me.
Right. So it's kind of like, because you could see everyone else's hand.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's in your hand.
Yeah.
It's like that mystery. Yeah. Like, it's those games that kind of like change the mechanism of like, I didn't know board games could do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It was definitely like the first board game that I played that I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is kind of like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, and we're working together to play cards?
It was one of the first co-op games I played.
Yeah. Nice. All right, my number 3. Again, we're still in late childhood here. But this was the game that kind of cemented my reason for liking to play games solo. Because this game isn't meant to be solo, but I played it so much solo as a kid that most board games that are solo nowadays, I'm immediately interested in it. And that's Pokemon Master Trainer.
Nice. I've never heard of this.
Yeah. It was a game where you picked one of these little Ash Ketchum like standees, and you would try to go around the board catching Pokemon, evolving them into their, bigger forms, and then eventually fighting the Elite Four. The idea was that you had to beat the Elite Four to win the game, like one Elite Four person to win the game. But I never played that way. I played this solo, going around the board trying to catch every single Pokemon on the board. And it was a simple, you roll and move. So you roll 2 dice, you move it on the board.
Okay.
And then you roll for the Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it was just hours of like me walking around the board trying to catch every single Pokemon on the board. I would never do it because being a Pokemon master is really hard. And I would get really frustrated, and then I would just end the game there.
That sounds like a really cool Pokemon game.
Yeah, it was great. If I had a copy, and I've been looking for one, and it's so expensive. It's like 200 bucks nowadays. And that's like a used copy. Jesus. But if I could find a copy, oh man, I would still play it.
Nice. Yeah. So my number 3, spoiler, another deduction style game is Mysterium.
Oh wait, your 3 so far have been all deduction kind of games.
All deduction games.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning new things.
So yeah, Mysterium is actually one of my favorite party games.
Mysterium.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. It is probably my favorite party game. The only reason that it's not
party game.
Yeah, it's not as high is just because you need a lot of people for it to really be good.
Yes,
you need a good amount of people. It's hard. It's one of those. It's hard to get to the table.
Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't play with like less than 4. Like you need at least 5 for it to be like very interesting.
At least 5.
Yeah,
but it's one of those games. Is if you don't know Mysterium, you are essentially trying to solve a mystery of how someone died.
How you died.
How you died. Yes, and you are the ghost, and you are essentially giving clues to the rest of the players. But these are non-verbal clues. You're only using abstract cards that shows like a mood and imagery, that kind of
like a dream-like
like a dream-like state kind of thing, and you're using those clues to kind of the other players using those clues to guess where the murder happened, what was the murder weapon,
and then you have like different levels, right?
Yeah.
Like they have to figure out where the location was first, and then they have to figure out the person first.
The person first, the location,
and the weapon. Yeah, you're right.
So what I really like about this game is the like non-verbal clue given.
Nice.
Right, you kind of, and especially as the ghost, because you're not supposed to interject at all, other than give the cards to the players, and they're able to freely discuss what you've given them. Yeah. And it is hilarious watching your friends try to figure out the way you think and the way you would look at something.
Right.
And you kind of, it's kind of amusing, right?
Yeah, like I've been the ghost once before, and sometimes my friends don't really catch on. Like sometimes like they're more. Like emotional and like colorful. Yeah. Whereas I'm more literal in terms of a clue. So sometimes I'll just be sitting there and there's a clue that I give and they're saying like, well, this is like green, so it might be the guy with the green. And in my mind, I'm just like, putting my hands on my face like, oh no. Like that's the kind of feeling that this game gives me, I think.
But I like that. I like the aspect of kind of like trying to figure out the way your friends kind of think, and you could curate the clues you give based off the way they've looked at other clues.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's like the coolest aspect of Mysterium. It's a great deduction style game. But yeah, that's my number 3.
All right, we're gonna skip ahead now for my number 2, maybe about some 15 years. So in like high school and college, I didn't play too many board games. I still played chess, but that was basically the limit of it. But once college was over and I had a more like tighter friend circle and we got back into board games, we started playing some more recent ones. And I think in 2013, I had first played Lords of Waterdeep. That was the game that kind of introduced me into worker placement and kind of showed me that board games do a lot more than people think they do. The idea of being able to take like your so-called like piece and put it somewhere on a board and take that action was just such a novel idea. I was like, so if I need a resource, I just need to put my piece there, but if someone's on that space, I can't put it there. Yeah. Like that's something that creates a lot of tension in a game, which is I really like. But it also kind of like evokes like almost like a strategy that you need to do. Like I need to get there before so and so needs to get there. Yeah. And like that idea of Waterdeep just kind of like hit me so hard that I was like, I need to see what other board games can do.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I feel like Waterdeep is an interesting game too, because it feels like, at least for me, that a lot of people learned about worker placement through Waterdeep around the same time.
I think so too.
I think it was like one of the bigger like worker placement games at that time, and it was definitely an introductory for a lot of people.
Yeah. And like I'll look at a lot of like worker placement games nowadays and almost do a comparison to like to Waterdeep.
Oh, 100%.
And like even though Waterdeep was like very simple in its mechanics, I think that's what you need to kind of get jettisoned into the hobby.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because sometimes if you create like too much of a combination of like, oh, there's mechanics that, you know, add too much, kind of like, oh, I think I've heard in Raiders you can put a piece on and then take it off and then take a second action at the second time. That might add a little too much. Yeah, it's definitely one of those games you play after you play something like Waterdeep. Yeah. Like, it's definitely like you need the basics of something like Waterdeep before you dive into like something like Architects or Raiders. Right, and like it thematically doesn't really have too much to it. It's really just you're collecting cube resources, trading them for a card, you know, but sometimes like that's really all you need to, you know, 100%. Like get that process started. But yeah, I have had a lot of great memories with Waterdeep. I will continue to keep playing it. Nice. So my number 2 is actually Love Letter. Surprise, another deduction style game. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. You like your small games and you like your deduction games. Well, there's some deduction to Love Letter. Yeah, there is some deduction to Love Letter. Especially early on when I started playing board games. Right. That was the mechanism that got me in. If it was a deduction style game, I'm more likely to play it and enjoy it, and especially lighter games. Because again, I don't have like a big background childhood wise of playing board games. I gotcha. So especially early on, it took me longer to grasp concepts than people who played like something like Sorry or Clue or. Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so a lot of those games I've never played. So it just took me a while to grasp concepts. So lighter games was good for me, because heavier games, it was just kind of like, wait, what can I do again? Right. So yeah, these lighter games helped me kind of get me to the point where I can play heavier games and kind of understand what I'm doing. And Love Letter was definitely one of those games. It was a simple card game, simple abilities, you know what they do, and the strategy is kind of like, it's there, but it's not complex. Right. Like, you know what you want to do, and you want to figure out what the other person is trying to do as well. So it's not completely complex. Right. And it's like simple actions. It's simple actions, but there's strategy enough that you could get into it really. Right, yeah, because like you have those idea, like, you know, there's 8 different types of cards. Yeah, 100%. And then like you could be trying to go maybe during one round for getting the highest number and just, you know, solidify safety. Or you could be the person that's trying to attack everybody and get them out of the round. So like, yeah, it's deceptively more complicated than like what you normally see in like a smaller card box.
100%. That's part of why I loved it too, because it was kind of like, oh, it's so simple, but there's so much to it. And I still love those games to this day.
Yeah.
The type of games where it's just like it's simple enough, but has a lot of complexity in the back end.
Yeah, and then like these games will like run you like 15 minutes max.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you could play multiple rounds of this.
Yeah, you could just keep going. It's easy to teach the family.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a definitely a great game, and that's why it's my number 2.
Yeah, it's definitely good to start off with too. Like especially if you're trying to introduce someone into like, hey, cards can do this.
Yeah, what card games can do. 100%.
Yeah. Like Love Letter is a good choice. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, my number 1. Again, this is all chronological. So this is a game that it basically told me that I really should be in the board game hobby. Like this, This is really like the game where I played it and I was like, I just want to keep figuring out other board games, other mechanisms, other things we can do.
Yeah.
And so this is a typical, I guess what you could say is a introductory game for most people. And over time, this idea of introductory has changed, and that game has typically changed too. But my number 1 is Splendor, and I think I believe I played this in 2015 for the first time. And after playing Splendor, my mind was just blown with what you could do with cards.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think I've ever played an engine building game, which is the idea of like you're getting something and you're using that to further pay for other things in the future.
Yeah.
So the idea of Splendor is that you get you're paying for these gems by collecting these like tokens, these like poker chips that have a certain color on them.
Yeah.
You're then paying for certain cards with those colors. That then becomes a permanent color. Then you can use that for paying for other colors. And that idea, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like I can use this green to pay for this red, and then use this red to pay for more red. And it just becomes like almost like an optimizing type of game. And just the idea of you're racing to 15 points. Whoever gets there ends the game. And then it's not even who has that 15 ends the game. It's whoever has the most. So like you can hit 15 and then say like Kathy comes in and she just like, oh, let me get 17. And I'm like, darn it, Kathy. Darn it. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. No, Splendor's a great choice. It's definitely one of the better introductory engine building games. It's kind of simplifies it enough, but gives you enough to kind of go like, oh man, but if I get this, it's going to give me this next round.
Right.
It's going to let me get this the other round. And it's kind of like building it's cool. It's definitely great.
And it's hard like when you're trying to like build to something because there's a reservation token in there.
Yeah.
And so if I see that, you know, like Paul over here is going for red, I'm like, well, Paul, I'm not letting you get red. Let me take that from you.
Yeah.
It's like it's satisfying, but it's also frustrating. But it's like in like a good kind of frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like you're trying to figure out how to like optimize without letting your opponents see like this is obviously what I'm going for.
Yeah, and the simplicity with it too is that like in your Paul example, stop Paul from getting red.
Right.
It doesn't totally take him out of the game. You know what I mean? Like you can go for other colors. I think while you're going for one color, you're kind of already building up in other colors as well.
That's a very good point. Because that wild, you can like, I'm spending a turn preventing you from getting something, but that wild I can use for any color.
Yeah, you could pivot easily in Splendor, which you can't do in a lot of more complex engine building games.
Yeah.
So
I could see that.
That's another reason why I feel like Splendor works very well as a introductory engine builder.
That's a very good point.
So my number 1 is not a deduction style game. It is Lords of Waterdeep.
Oh,
crossover. Nice.
Sweet.
It's my first. It was my first worker placement game that I played, and it just kind of blew my mind in terms of like what you can do. And I think the first game I played as well was a full game.
Yeah.
So
5.
It was 5. So I think spots were getting filled up, and it leaves you with great choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, man, I need those 2 colors, but they keep getting taken at the beginning of the round. I'm gonna have to make sure I go first.
And that's a great point. Like this is one of those games where first player isn't decided and just rotated around the board. It's like, if you want first, you need to take first.
You need to take first.
Yeah.
You need to decide what's important to you, what you can let go, what you can't.
Right.
You really have to kind of optimize what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't, like, it's I believe it's like 8 rounds, 2 turns per round per player, until a certain point where you get like an extra worker.
Right.
But it seems like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to really, really utilize every turn that you have.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it kind of leaves you good choices. Like, you need to pivot sometimes in this game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And like, it just works so well. It was like the first game I played that I had to like, oh, I can't do this. I need to figure out something else.
Right. Yeah.
It was like, what can I do? And then figure that out.
Right.
And figure out where I need to go, how I'm interacting with everyone around the board, what they're picking up, what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
And then they also added in those like, was it those like development cards or like those like those effect cards, you know, that like let you maybe play an effect that gives you something that you can't get to on the board.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of engine building in it as well with the buildings that you could build.
Oh,
or other places can go to that gives you resources for other things. I thought that was super because at that point I never played an engine builder.
Oh yeah, like when you can build your own spaces on boards too. Yeah, that was like, to me, I was like, you telling me that every game could be different because I have a different house out on the board. I'm like, this replay cool. Is so much.
The replayability of the game is amazing. I still play that game to this day. It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, no, Waterdeep is not. That's a great choice.
Yeah.
All right, those are our top 5 games that got us into the board game hobby. We're hopefully gonna be able to put out some more videos, whether it's a tutorial, whether it's game reviews, or we just like talking about board games with each other, so we figure we share that with you guys.
Yeah, 100%. So stick around for the journey.
Yeah.
See you
with
again
that,
soon.
We'll catch you guys later. My name is Mark.
Zoe.
All right, we're the Board Adventurers. See ya.